Okay, I'm going to show you the trick for doing the feet for this little coffee cup. And if you get this technique down, it works great for doing feet for a lot of different things. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to make a slip knot. And since he has little bitty feet, we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, if you tend to get holes in your work when you do like an oval, you can work in these back bumps along the chain. That will let you work on these top V's here in the chain up the other side, and that can help kind of fix that problem. But I'm not going to do that this time. So in this second chain from the hook, because we always skip this first one, we're going to work a single crochet. Just put it in. Now I work yarn under. The difference between going yarn under and yarn over is yarn under, for amigurumi at least, gives you a tighter stitch and it looks really nice, especially when you're working in the smaller chenilles. When you work with the blanket yarns, you won't notice it quite as much. Now, the biggest difference is if you're working on a ball, I would do a yarn over, because yarn under, it gives you a shorter stitch. So, like I said, we're going to do the single crochet. You just put it through, pull out, yarn over, and pull it through. Do 2 more single crochets. 1 and 2. In this last one, we're going to do 3 single crochets in this one stitch. And that is going to turn the work so we can go up the other side of that foundation chain. Now you can ignore the little tail there since it's going to be inside the foot. And so we're going to do 2 single crochets in this back side right here. And this last one here, we're going to do an increase. And of course, I forgot to grab my stitch marker, so let me grab one real quick. I like to mark the first stitch of the row. Some people prefer to do the back, but if you see on my patterns, I always put them in this first. Now, that right there is the foundation row for the foot. And we're going to change to black, is according to the pattern. But for the purposes of this, I'm using a lighter color. Now, you notice I pulled through on this. A technique that I like to do for changing color is, instead of pulling this first color through, when you still have the 2 stitches on the hook, take your new color and you could go ahead and just pull that through. And if you're worried about this end, you can always stop, take that little end, and just kind of do a little square knot in the back. Now this works with amigurumi because, like I said, it's going to be on the inside and you won't see it. But that way you don't have to worry about that coming loose. And because, like I said, this is the sole of his shoe. And this first stitch from the last row, we're going to work in the back loops of all of these. And we're going to work 10 single crochets, 1 in each stitch. So I yarn under, 1. And even though it's a different color, I still like to get into the habit of putting my stitch marker into that. if you like those. My husband 3D prints those for me. And do 10 single crochets. Sorry about that clicking noise. That is my watch clicking here on the desk. Three, 4, and the reason why we're doing it in the back loop only is that will help kind of turn this edge so it wants to go up, which is really good since this isn't the actual side of the foot that we're working on now. I grew up doing everything in worsted weight yarn. I've only really been working in chenille for a couple months now. Like I said, I'm used to doing all of this with worsted weight. You could really see the stitches. If you're new to crochet, I recommend doing some things in worsted weight at first, just so you can kind of get a feel for techniques and what stitches look like. But this is the second row. You see how it's kind of turned up on the side now. Now, from here up, this is how we're going to get the shaping of the actual foot. So in this first stitch on the next row, actually in these first 4 stitches, we're going to do a single crochet. Let me take that out. One, 2, let me put that back in there so I like to mark my spot. Three and 4. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to do 2 decreases. And I like to do what they call an invisible decrease, especially when you're working with amigurumi. It helps kind of make it less noticeable. You're probably used to seeing where you put your hook all the way through, you pull up, you put it through, you pull up, and then you yarn over and you pull through all 3. That is not how we're going to do that because it tends to put a little hole down here and it's a lot more noticeable. So what I recommend doing is working in these front loops. You'll put the hook through there and through the next one. You'll grab your yarn. You're going to pull it through both of those. And sometimes it can be a little finicky, but then that will give you your 2 loops in on your hook, and you could yarn over and pull through both of those. And we're going to do that again. Put it through the next 2. Grab your yarn. And like I said, it's up to you whether you want to do yarn over or yarn over. Do what's most comfortable for you. Because I do a yarn under, and then I'll do a yarn over. And then we can do 2 single crochets. And what you'll see is here on the top, you can see where it's kind of starting to curve over it and kind of starting to give it that foot look. Now for these little ends right here, to get those out of your way, this white, what I recommend, since we're done with this white, I'm just going to tie it, this white, I'm going to go ahead and just tie it off to this. I like to do a little square knot or a couple of overhands, so that way then we can cut it. Because we're done with this white here. And you could take these ends and just stuff them down into the toe. That way those ends will be out of the way now. And you can actually see what's going on here. But those two decreases kind of turn it up and start giving it that foot look. And for the fourth row, it's basically the same thing. We're just making it a little bit smaller. We're going to do 2 single crochets, so we'll do one in that first stitch. Move my stitch marker up. Do a single crochet in this next one. We will once again do 2 decreases. So under the front loop of this first one, under the front loop of this next one, grab the yarn, pull it through, so you have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through. Do that again with the next 2 stitches. I know working with things this tiny can be a pain, but he's got little bitty feet. Yarn over, pull through, and then just do a single crochet in these last 2 stitches. And at this point, the foot itself, make this loop a little bigger here. The foot itself here is done for the foot. I would recommend at this point taking a little bit of stuffing. It does not take much. And going ahead and stuffing the foot, because once the leg is done, it gets really, really difficult. And you could use the end of a crochet hook, a pencil eraser, if you have that available. I have big fat fingers, so it's kind of hard to get that into the tiny spaces. Something that works extremely well is a chopstick. Just buy you some chopsticks. They are great for getting the stuffing into the little bitty areas. And that is all the stuffing it takes, because, like I said, it's very tiny. You just want to go ahead and get this foot part stuffed. And from here, for the rest of the leg, it is 4 rounds of just single crochet. So you'll have 4 rounds of 6 single crochets. And let me go ahead and if you don't have an actual stitch marker, bobby pin, paper clip, a piece of string of a different color, all of those things work. Three, let's see, 5, and 6. Now, the pattern calls for you to do 4 rows of it. For just the demonstration purposes of this, I was just going to do the 1, because what you're going to do at the end is you're going to want to sandwich it. And if your stitch count does not quite line up to make it work, you could add another stitch to get you over here to this other side. which is what I would usually do because you want it so we could sandwich it this way so that it is in line with the foot. So, and everybody's tension is different. So I just do a couple of extra so that way you can get it to line up. The leg itself, I usually would only stuff the bottom part of it, or if you put any stuff in, make it really light because you're going to just be pinching the leg together. You're going to go through this next stitch, and you can work with the front loops only if it makes it easier for you, and then you're going to stick the yarn or your hook. Go through the front one here, and you're going to go through the stitch right behind it right here. Yarn over, or in my case yarn under, grab your yarn, pull it through, and do a single crochet. And you're going to do the same thing with the next one. Go through the stitch on the front and the stitch on the back. And one more time. And then you can cut your yarn, and you could leave a little short tail and hide that inside the body, or you could take it and pull it down inside the leg and hide that away, because once you finish this off, you're done with this, and then this gets actually crocheted into the body as we go. But that's the technique for doing the little foot. I know it doesn't look really foot-ish when it's so little like this, but that's the technique to get this to shape and then to come up the leg. And if you have any questions about that, leave me a comment below or send me an email, and I can try to make this, I can redo this video and try to make it a little bit more clear.